Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 2 of Trust Me, Bro. I'm Mark. This is Craig.
I'm Craig. How's it going? What's up, Mark?
All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today. We had some technical difficulties with our last video podcast provider. Weren't able to meet last week, but here we are to talk about week 3 in the NFL and take a look at what little gems are out there on the waiver wire for people to pick up tonight. It is Tuesday afternoon. Waiver wires in most leagues kick off this evening and execute overnight for under our Christmas tree on Wednesday morning. So I've got 3 running backs, Craig, and 4 wide receivers, a tight end, and a quarterback. So why don't you go ahead and go first, Craig, and let me know what's your first running back this week.
Gotcha. You know what? You're going to do most of the talking here. I've got one, and it's an obvious one. Alexander Madison.
Okay, good one.
Owned by 37% in the league. With Cook had a dislocated, what was it, elbow or shoulder?
Shoulder, yes, sir.
So he, they say he's day to day, but that's something that's probably going to put him back a little bit. I would imagine this week, especially, Madison will get some playing time.
Yeah, it happens every year for the Cook owners. You would think that. I think this is probably the third year that I remember that the Cook owners, or at least 63% of the Cook owners, don't have Alexander Madison on their roster. So I think if you're a Cook owner, picking up Madison, in the late round of your draft is a good insurance policy. He always performs really well when Cook's out, and so I think he's a solid pickup for definitely for this week, assuming Cook's out. He had 17 carries for 72 yards and a tutty while Cook was out in week 3. So he always comes through. I think he could be a starting running back on another squad, somewhere in the NFL if he ever got out from under the, being Cook's backup.
Yeah. I'm not always a big believer in the handcuff, but I think he's a good one.
Yeah.
I think he's one of the few in the league that he's worth at least stashing on your bench if you're a Cook owner.
Exactly.
Go snag him now so that the Cook owner's in a little tougher spot.
Right. Absolutely. Especially if you're up against a Cook owner in one of your leagues this coming weekend, if you can scoop him on the waiver wire.
Yep.
All right. My first pick for running back is Khalil Herbert with the Chicago Bears. Right now, he's got 25% ownership. I saw that their starter, David Montgomery, had some issues and went out of the game in week 3. So we don't yet know his status for week 4, but this is kind of a, pick up and see how that goes, if Montgomery's able to go or not.
Yeah, I like that one because I'm a Montgomery owner, unfortunately, in a couple leagues, and he just really hasn't been producing this year. So this is, to see somebody come in and score 2 touchdowns and run for over 100 yards is, makes me think maybe he's going to supplant Montgomery anyways.
Right.
So, would be a good one to go ahead and pick up. Montgomery is day by day, so there's a chance he plays next week, but Herbert might have earned himself some playing time.
Yeah, I agree. He lit it up. He lit up the scoreboard in week 3. I think he was the number 1 overall running back in the whole league. Actually, I think he had like 175 yards and scored at least 1, maybe 2 touchdowns. I didn't take notes on him, but yeah, he was on fire. So if he can continue that, it looks kind of like Chicago is kind of leaning towards a run-based offense. They sure aren't passing it much. So their wide receivers are putting up pathetic numbers. I mean, Mooney, I think he's been under 5 points all 3 weeks. So yeah, they're definitely not airing the ball out.
Yeah, definitely not. So that could be a good pickup. What else you got on running back?
Okay, so I just got one more running back. This is a blast from the past. I brought this name up in week 1. It's Jamal Williams. And now with Swift. Yeah, why can I never remember that name? But yeah, now with Swift, I saw some reports last night and today that it's looking like Swift might be out for multiple weeks. So
Really?
potentially, at least 2. So Jamal Williams, I talked about him in week 1. At that point, his ownership was. Let's see. Yeah, you know what? I don't even have his ownership written down, but yeah, his ownership right now is 44%. So he's out there in 56% of leagues. So far on the season, he's got 4 touchdowns. He's carried the ball 43 times for 168 yards. Seen 5 targets with 4 grabs for 29 additional yards. So even in a timeshare with Swift, he's still contributing. And so with him being the only one there, with Swift out for at least 1 or 2 weeks, I think Jamal Williams might be able to carry the load and score you some good points for your fantasy teams if he's still out there in your league. I did find him out there on one of the 4 leagues that I'm in, and I definitely have a waiver climb put in. I'm not exactly at the top of that list, so we'll see if he makes his way down to 6th.
Yeah. I mean, I like that one too. I think he's kind of in a similar role as AJ Dillon is in Green Bay. Where he can still produce, whether Swift is on the field or not. He's still going to put some points up for you. So I think
he's definitely been doing much better than AJ Dillon so far this year. It's been. Not his show. Let's put it that way. He's got a lot of potential. He was, pretty good last year. I'm sure he'll ramp up, but so far he's off to a slow start.
Yep.
But yeah, I see what you're saying as far as there being a timeshare there and him getting the opportunities.
Yep, he's definitely getting them.
All right, so hit me with your first wide receiver, Craig.
So I've got Zay Jones on my top waiver wire pick for wide receiver. He's owned in 8% of the leagues. 11 targets last week, holding 11 catches for 85 yards and a touchdown.
Yep.
Last week or the week before, he had 9 targets. So he's definitely getting the looks.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Jacksonville's been a big surprise as far as the production that they're getting out of Trevor Lawrence from Zay Jones and from Christian Kirk. He's been a huge surprise. So yeah, they're going to be playing from behind a lot, and so that's a team that's going to get you a ton of garbage time. That garbage time may end up turning into wins, for them, just like it did this past weekend. So, I think Zay Jones is a good target. I actually had him written down myself as my 4th choice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. What you got?
So first up is Devonte Parker. I really liked him with the Miami Dolphins, especially when Fitzmagic was there. It seems like that whenever Fitzmagic is around, that this guy turns out to be a really good wide receiver. I haven't seen anything out of him so far this year until this past game. I think he had north of 100 yards, at least 1 touchdown. He was, he looks pretty legit. The only thing that concerns me there with Devonte Parker is the injury to Mac. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to play, his quarterback, if he's going to be able to play this coming weekend, but we'll see. Yeah. But he's 25% owned. If you got some bench spot available for him, he'd be a good one to pick up as a waiver, as a bye week replacement filler, at a worst case scenario. But if this recent production ends up being a trend, he may be somebody that may work his way into your starting lineup. But yeah, for now, just a bench spot.
Yep. Yeah.
All right.
I did kind of like what I saw out of him. Second one I've got Joshua Palmer.
Okay.
So he's on about 36% of the leagues.
With the Bolts, right? The Chargers.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, hauled in 6 catches for 99 yards on 9 targets, and then 8 targets the week prior. So
nice.
he's definitely getting some looks as well.
Yep, for sure. And do you think a lot of that was a product of Keenan Allen being out?
Yeah, it definitely is. Keenan Allen seems to miss some time just about every year. So
Yeah, for
might be a
sure.
good one to
Yeah.
pick up now and stash later.
Yeah, Keenan Allen's getting up there in age. I know he's probably in his 30s, maybe mid 30s. I'm not sure his age, but yeah, he's been around a while. So
Yeah.
yeah, he's probably prone to miss a few more games this year. Unfortunately, I've got him on one of my squads.
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping for some more action for the tight end there on the Bolts. Everett, I had him going this weekend and wasn't too impressed. He's got a few
Yep.
grabs got me 5 or 6 points. So
Yeah. I played him in a couple leagues too. He was a bit of a disappointment.
yeah, I
It's hard
agree,
to find a tight end this year.
for sure. And I've got another tight end coming up that's probably pretty overlooked that you and I can take a look at to consider for to replace Everett. Okay, so that's my first my first wide receiver. Give me your second wide receiver, Craig.
So I think Mac Hollins is looking pretty good to me. Was he on your list too?
Yeah, he is. He's on my list. I actually scratched it out because I was looking at him, and I'm very impressed with his work production the other day. He looked really, really good, and I think that's probably the reason why I scratched it out. I think I was kind of thinking that that production is probably really a product of Hunter Renfrow being out. This last game.
Yeah.
And so it's just a matter of, is that going to continue when Renfrow comes back? And so that's my only question mark with Mac Hollins, but very impressive performance. So if he can stay on the field and keep, producing like that, then absolutely be a good pickup.
Yeah. I mean, he's one that, that's a heck of a game, man. Eight grabs for 158 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah. Solid performance for sure, man.
Yeah.
Okay. So next up, I had written down Chris Salave, but I realized his percentage ownership was, in the 60s and 70s now, so he doesn't qualify for our under 50%. So if Chris Salave happens to be out there, on your waiver wire, make sure to grab him because he looks to be Jameis Winston's, favorite target nowadays.
Yeah.
But anyway, moving past him, I wrote down Russell Gage with the Bucks. He's 42% owned. This past weekend, he got 12 grabs on 13 targets. That's pretty efficient right there.
Mm-hmm.
Got 12 out of 13 for 87 yards and a tutty. The yardage, for 12 grabs, only 87. That's not exactly impressive. It's probably just a few yards a grab. But again, I realize that his production is a function of Evans being suspended and Chris Godwin being hurt and Julio Jones being out. So when those three get back, he's not going to necessarily be getting 13 targets a game. But assuming that, Godwin's still out and if Julio, can't get his foot right and can't play this weekend, it'll just be him and Evans. And so that he may end up having another good game for Russell Gage.
Yeah. Okay.
Who you got next?
Yeah.
What's that? Oh, next up for wide receiver, Craig.
Yeah. My last one I got on here is Romeo Dobbs.
Oh, yeah.
In Green Bay, owned in 16% of the leagues. This is one that got a lot of hype, I think, in the preseason, and seems starting to get some looks and get some grabs and earn some trust from Rodgers. You and I both know that's what it's about, is getting Rodgers' trust. So he's starting to get that. 8 grabs for 73 yards and a touchdown this last week. So, and he looked good out there too.
He did.
Kind of passed the eye test of, is he looking good? Is he getting lucky, or does he look like he's got some skill? And he looks like he's definitely got it. So, I would expect to see him just continue to move up in this. Lazard's back, and he still had a great game. So, I think he's somebody that can move up the depth chart in Green Bay pretty quick.
I totally agree. I actually had him down as my number 3 wide receiver, Romeo Dobbs. I think he's fantastic. Like you said, 8 for 8 for 73 with a tutty. And that's a team that really lacks a true number 1 right now. Sammy Watkins, I believe, is out for multiple weeks. I'm not sure if he had surgery, but I remember reading an injury report that he's going to be out for a bit. Yeah. And so, sure, they got Lazard. I've never viewed him as a number 1. And, so other than that, they have, I think Christian, God, what's his last name? The other rookie, he may or may not make an impact this year, but I know that the Rodgers, has trust issues with rookies, but without a whole lot of other options on the field, he's going to have to develop that trust pretty quick here in practice.
And he's
So
got to start throwing it. I think
yep,
they're trying to expect a lot out of Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon, and
yeah,
a lot of different formations and packages. To keep on putting them in, so they're going to have to get the ball spread out to the wide receivers to help that offense go. So
exactly. Otherwise, they'll just stack the box. Yeah.
Yep.
And so, you got to keep these defenses honest and throw the ball downfield, as much as you can to, keep a balanced offensive approach.
Yep.
Okay.
And I think if he's open, Rodgers is going to find him.
Yep, absolutely. So, he looks good. All right. So we talked about Zay Jones. We talked about Romeo Dobbs. I had both of those guys, too, on my list. And so that pretty much wraps up wide receivers, unless you got another one.
That's it. That's
okay.
all I've got on my list.
Okay, cool. I've got a tight end. Let me go ahead and start off with that one.
Okay.
So this is probably an overlooked tight end that's kind of flying under the radar right now. And so as we discussed, Gerald Everett earlier, usually I'm not in the market for a tight end because I prefer to draft, the top, 4 or 5 guys, pretty early in most of my leagues. One of them where I have Schultz, obviously I'm in the market for a tight end because, Schultz was out week 2 and then was out last night for week 3. Yep. And so I have been looking at Tyler Conklin of the Jets. He's only 22% owned. So far this season, he's been targeted 24 times with 18 grabs and 1 touchdown. The thing that got my attention about him is he scored double-digit points every week, 1 through 3. And so, if you need a tight end and your tight end isn't performing, he's giving you, 3 grabs for 36 or something garbage like that, which most tight ends, that's what they give you. I think he'd be a solid person to stick in for the time being, just until, Schultz is back or you're able to find somebody better. But I think he's a good stopgap at tight end.
Yeah, I agree with you. He was number 1 on my list too. And,
nice.
I wrote down next to him Steady Eddie because exactly what you just said.
Yep.
He's getting the looks every game. He's putting up some points. He's somebody that you're not going to count on him or expect 29 or 30 points out of him, I don't think.
Right.
But you can expect 10 to 12.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's got a solid floor, right? A solid, low double-digit floor. He's not going to give you, like you said, Kelsey numbers or Mark Andrews numbers.
Right.
But he'll at least fill that tight end position with double-digit points, which is, what'll get you through.
Yep, I think it's a pretty safe bet. Another one I wrote down, and I think when I watch the games and I watch the Vikings play. I see him a lot. His production doesn't seem to be there, but I feel like, there's some breakout games to come for Irv Smith.
Irv Smith, okay, yeah. He's been a hot name for a couple of years now.
Yeah, and he's owning 37% of the leagues. He gets targets. He just hasn't brought him down.
Right.
Recently, so I think there's some upside for him to break out.
For sure, yeah. He needs to work on that chemistry with Kirk Cousins in practice, and maybe he'll, start bringing him in.
Practice a little bit and hit the jugs machine.
Yeah.
Work on catching the ball.
Right.
Looking at it in his hands.
Yeah, the fundamentals,
once he gets
right?
that down, though, kind of the fundamentals of being a receiving tight end, then I think we'll see some good production out of him. But I do feel like there's some breakout potential in him.
Yep. Yeah, I mean that'd be good, especially for people that didn't draft, one of the top 4 or 5 tight ends. He's a good one to consider with upside.
Yeah.
Any other tight ends or?
Yeah, I've got one more, and this is somebody that's been hanging around for years. And we just haven't seen any true consistency out of him, but he did just have a good game. He's somebody that you might take a flyer on, and that's David Njoku.
Mm-hmm. Okay, he's still with the Browns, right?
Yeah, still with the Browns. Okay. 9 catches, 89 yards, and a touchdown. So
that's great.
he had a good week this last week. you could take a flyer on him, give it a chance, and
Yeah.
see if you can get 2 in a row from him. But he's
Right.
somebody that can do it. He's got the talent to do it. It's just whether the game plan flows his way and goes up against a defense that can allow him that production.
Yeah, and he's not sharing the field with Hooper anymore, right? I think it was last year
Right.
that he was there, right?
Yep.
So the gig is his.
Yeah.
So let's see if he can capitalize on that, and if he can get 8 or 9 grabs on a week on a consistent basis, yeah, that could be a pretty trustworthy tight end to have in your lineup. Good one. That's it for tight ends?
That's it. That's what I've
okay.
got.
All right. So for quarterback, I just wrote down one, and he's been pretty steady so far, and has what I consider some upside, and that's Trevor Lawrence. I wasn't a very big fan of him, during his first year in the league, and I think that might have had to do with the coaching situation he was in.
I would agree.
With that terrible coach they had from Ohio State who came in and just really didn't belong in the NFL. Let's put it that way. But Meyer was horrible, and so. But this year, it looks like he's really improved his game. He's thrown for at least 235 yards each week. So he's gone between 235 and 235 and 275 each game. He's got 6 touchdowns on the season and only thrown 1 INT. That's pretty impressive that he's able to cut down on the turnovers that were biting him last year. And so he'd be a good one to fill in for you if you got somebody like Derek Carr, which I have, who's been, okay. I mean, he hasn't necessarily gotten me even over 20, any of those 3 games. He's, given me in the high teens, which is nice, but, I'm expecting at least 20 from my quarterback, and I'm looking to push, between 20 and 40, as far as like 20 is the floor, and, the sky's the limit on the ceiling. But I'm looking for somebody with more upside.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I feel like at this point you can kind of, if you're down a quarterback, in a couple leagues I don't have Dak in there.
Yep.
I plugged in Aaron Rodgers in one league and he's okay. I mean, it seems like a good backup, but he got me about 16 points.
Right. Yeah, same as Carr, right?
Yeah, and there's guys out there like Joe Flacco. Going off for 30 points and
right. Like Goff, Jared Goff,
Yeah, Jared Goff went off, a couple times. Man, I noticed a trend. Like week 1, there was a lot of quarterbacks that scored between that 20 and 30 range.
Yep.
And then had a terrible week 2,
and
then a decent week 3. So, it's just kind of up and down any Sunday. I have some names to look at.
Okay.
Take a peek at, see if it fits your lineup. Jimmy G. Trey Lance went down for the year, so
right.
For those that need a quarterback, he might be a good one to go look at and plug in.
Sure.
Geno Smith's been pretty steady this year.
Yes.
He's actually been pretty impressive. He's he's putting up some points and being pretty consistent. So he's another one to look at. And then I mentioned just a second ago, but Joe Flacco. He's got Pittsburgh coming up without Watt. Their defense isn't as scary to me. Definitely can score on him. He's got Miami, who does have a good defense.
Yeah.
They've been putting it. They put it to the Bills this week. So
right. He's been clicking with Garrett Wilson a lot. From Ohio State, and I think with that chemistry that that he's developed there, for the Flacco's developed. Yeah. He'll score some fantasy points for sure. Yeah. And he's still got Corey Davis.
Zach Wilson's coming back soon, though, right? When's he coming back? This week?
I saw a report this morning saying there's a possibility for week 4, but I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll see.
That usually means another week, so
probably.
Yeah, so Flacco might be a decent one this week, but after that, probably not one you want to look at.
True. Yeah, and I'm not really sold on his the starter for the Jets. What's his name again?
Zach Wilson.
Zach Wilson, yeah. I don't even know his name, so obviously, yeah, he's not exactly a memorable guy.
Yeah, I mean, he's been on the field enough to really prove himself, good or bad, So
I'm not sold on him being a starter in the NFL,
Yeah, kind of with you.
So,
Yeah. Well, cool.
Good, man.
Well,
So yeah, that's all I got for my quarterbacks, and we don't do kickers or defenses here on Trust Me Bro. So
yeah.
um,
Yeah, I mean, I think kickers are always something to kind of take a look at. See how your kicker's performing, see if you feel like there's a decent team, like a decent offense going against a decent defense.
yep.
That may get stalled out in the red zone, put up some field goals. So
Yeah.
I always like to look at kickers and my defenses on Wednesday morning. If you get up
Right.
early on Wednesday morning once the waiver claims are done, take a look, see if there's something out there that might make sense to help you improve your lineup.
Yeah, that's what I do too. Just try to scoop up some waiver wire leftovers and see what I can find without having to burn a waiver wire priority, pick on a defense or a kicker. For me, my rule of thumb on kickers is if my kicker is producing double-digit points week in, week out, he's safe in my lineup. He's not going anywhere. Yeah. And once my kicker goes 2 weeks in a row of single-digit production, I'm shopping.
Yeah.
For something else. So.
Yep. Or if they give you a goose egg.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Then he's gone. Right. Yeah. Cut on Monday.
Unless it's Justin Tucker, it's the only one.
Unless it's Justin Tucker. Yeah, exactly. He'll get a pass. Yeah. All
cool.
right. Well, thanks.
Good stuff this week, Mark.
Yep. What's that?
Good stuff this week.
Yes, sir. Good stuff this week. Thanks very much for your insight today, Craig. Had a good time talking with you on Trust Me Bro. And as always, we'll be watching the games on Red Zone on Sunday. And, of course, this Thursday night game we got coming up. And then Monday Night Football. And reporting back with with the players that caught our eye.
Yep. Cool. All right. Well, enjoy this week's game and these games this week, and then we'll be back at it next Monday night.
Sounds good. All right. Take care. Thanks, Greg.
All right. See ya.
Bye-bye.